The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read. Your source for news, politics, sports, and all things trending. Here's your host, Marcus Gentry.
Evidence that Representative Gaetz violated House rules and state and federal laws and other standards of conduct, the provision of special favors and privileges, and, for good measure, obstruction of Congress. Statutory rape. The House Ethics Report on Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz that was released today. Secret. So Matt Gaetz could have a chance of becoming Attorney General of the United States with a transition Trump run the Republican-controlled House right up to the precipice of another government shutdown, the closest we have been to a government shutdown since the last time Trump was.
Time to pop the popcorn because the MAGA civil war has begun. And I'm chuckling because Elon Musk is now going after MAGA influencers and he's silencing them.
What the hell else?
Alcohol abuse and financial mismanagement in his practice.
Welcome to the Daily Read, and I am your host, Marcus Gentry. Also, welcome to a new year and a new season. Today we're going to talk about what comes after. What comes after Trump gets inaugurated. We in trouble, people. And for all of you guys that's watching on YouTube and all my people that's supporting me on iHeartRadio, especially iHeartRadio people, because you know that's the go-to for talk radio and stuff like that now. We in trouble, and we would have been in trouble with Kamala Harris being president, but we are really in trouble now. I stayed out of the election because it was one of those choices of pick your own poison, and a lot of people in America don't realize that there's a pattern to everything. And I've been sitting back for the last couple of weeks and I've been watching the pattern in social issues. I've been watching the pattern in our government, and it's about to get bad. They've already in Georgia cut food stamps for thousands of people. They're talking about separating kids from their parents down at the border again, and he's not even president yet. And the pattern I've seen is, well, first of all, I want my people on iHeartRadio who aren't watching me on YouTube, I want you to close your eyes and I want you to just listen to me and listen to my voice when I explain to you the pattern so you can see it. Once you see the pattern, you won't forget it. You see, the nerds and the jocks have taken over the government. Let me explain that. These are the guys in high school that picked on people. They usually have like one or two black friends, you know, to hang around them. And you know, the guys with the hair slicked back, sometimes they wear the leather jackets if they play football or basketball. And what has happened is some of these guys have teamed up with the nerds. And we all know the nerds. The nerds are the little quiet Chinese kid in school who's very smart, or the Indian kid in school who's very smart. These men are millionaires now. The Elon Musk, the Viveks, Alaswamy, I might be butchering his name, but they've teamed up because they didn't like the direction of where the government was going with the whole feminism thing. And now that they've taken over the government, it's about to be hell for the next 4 years. It's a lot of payback going on. You got people trying to go for positions in government that they don't even have. Does they ask the question of the person who's trying to become the Secretary of Defense? You know, he's in charge of the triad. He's in charge of nuclear weapons. What is that position, and what is your job in that position? And that person couldn't even answer. This is dangerous. Matt Gaetz was nominated to be Attorney General. Of course, it's Pam Bondi now, but Matt Gaetz, he's been accused of statutory rape, drug use. This was the man that was going to be heading the force that supposed to protect us on the homeland. And people always have this funny saying about there are always going to be safeguards in the government to protect us from overreach and stuff like that. But that's a lie. The first 4 years that Trump was in office, he had safeguards. This time, he's not going to take no chances. This time, Trump is going to fill the government full of yes men. And that's going to be very, very dangerous. But it goes deeper than that. The pattern goes deeper than that. I want you guys to close your eyes that's listening to me on talk radio, that's listening to me on iHeartRadio. And I want you to think about the pattern that I'm finna explain to you. Because it's gonna scare you to death. But at the same time, if you know what's coming, you can prepare for it. You see, those men that marched in Virginia that were saying Jews would not replace us, those bigots, those racists, they're a part of the old white slave owners, the old white people before the Great Depression. I'm finna give you guys a brief history to explain to you the pattern of what's going on in America before we get into the video. You see, the reason why they were screaming Jews would not replace us is because during the Great Depression, we had a lot of immigrants. We had Jewish immigrants, we had Italian immigrants, we had German immigrants, we had Polish immigrants, and all of these people lived in the ghettos of America right beside black people. Listen to the pattern, people, so you can understand what's finna happen and what's going on. Those Jews, Italians, Polish, and German people that was living in the ghettos right next to black people had a plan. They came to America. They opened up food stands, fruit stands. So when the Great Depression hit, I'm finna give you a brief history. When the Great Depression hit, a lot of these men and women was not affected by it because they was in the ghetto and poor already. The main people that was hurt by the Great Depression was the older white people, the old white people that was here, that brought us here as slaves. Are you starting to see the pattern? Because I'm beginning to show you the pattern. When the Great Depression hit, there was this New Deal, and a lot of Italians and Jewish people who are white came up in the world. They already had mobs, gangs that they brought from their country to America. We didn't have that because we came here as slaves. They came here on a boat on their own free will. But they had a plan. And that plan was simple. My son, who's rambunctious, is going into the mob. My daughter is going to be a doctor. And my other son, who's not rambunctious, who's smart, I'm going to make him a lawyer. I'm hoping I'm getting through to you what's happening. You see, that's what's going on. We mimicked as people. We mimicked as black people the mob side of the immigrants that came here during the Great Depression. We started gangs because we didn't have that. We came here as slaves. But we always fuck up. I'm going to say it. We always fuck up and change the formula. Just like P. Diddy. P. Diddy tried to mimic Hugh Hefner. And P. Diddy changed the formula. Hugh Hefner probably had gays around him. But Hugh Hefner, he might have had gays around him. He might have had cocaine around him, if that's what you like. But he didn't base everything about that. See, P. Diddy didn't follow the formula. He had the Rainbow Tribe, the gays, prolific all throughout his reign of terror. And then he had this new pink cocaine that was everywhere. Hugh Hefner didn't have that. If you wanted cocaine, you probably can get it. But he didn't focus on that. I'm gonna go somewhere else. The church. Because my mother goes to a white church. I've been to her church. And those people in her church, they raised their hand. They raised their hand, praising God. But they're not sitting there jerking around, clapping, and it's more subtle. It's more calm. We took the church and turned it into a fashion show and turned it into a hip-hop concert. That's what I mean when I say that those people who came here as immigrants gave us a lot of things because they was in the ghetto with us. But when the Great Depression hit, they elevated themselves out the ghetto. They had speakeasies. Now they got liquor stores. We don't have liquor stores. Yeah, you might have one or two black liquor stores around, but the vast majority of liquor stores are owned by Italians, Jews, Indians, Hispanics. Those people had Las Vegas, the gambling. You see, their plan was they was going to take certain individuals in their family and place them in places of power. And that's who is running the government now. This is not a conspiracy theory. All you got to do is study your history and look for the pattern. The Italians, again, guacamole. No, I'm just joking. But say Giancana, right? Giancana. I say guacamole. But say you got a last name Giancana. He's the mob boss in New York. He takes one of his sons and puts him in the gang. He takes his other son, who's smart, and makes him a doctor. He takes his daughter and makes her a real estate investor. We blacks like the part about gangs, but we changed the formula. Those people elevated themselves out the government. Out the ghetto. We never elevated ourselves out the ghetto. Because instead of taking one son and putting him in the mob, and taking another son and making him a doctor, and taking a daughter and making her, a lawyer, we blacks took the formula and started making our sons run the football, making our sons dribble the basketball, and then our daughters are over-sexualized. Remember what I said on one of my shows, that back in the days when I was younger and we watched porn, or we got the porn magazines, you had maybe 15 women that did porn. And you knew their names. The Angel Kellys, the Dominique Simones. You knew their names because it was so few of them. Now you can turn on a porn site and they don't even have a name under the video. They just got numbers, 9567889 video, 96782 video. It's so many women, mostly minority women, doing porn now, doing OnlyFans. So I'm trying to explain to you what's finna happen, because the bullies and the nerds have taken over the government. But these bullies and nerds are immigrants themselves. These bullies and nerds who have taken over the government are not the slave masters. They're not the original white people. The original white people is MAGA. Let that sit on your brain for a minute. You see, 70 years, 80 years have gone by. And in those 80 years, the Italians, the Jews, the Polish people, and the Germans, because Donald Trump's great-grandfather was a German who came here to America. Donald Trump is not an original slave master. Remember what I said. Close your eyes and just listen to my voice and you will see the pattern. That's the reason why you had those white boys marching, talking about Jews would not replace us. But they have replaced you. They replaced you. And that's who's running the government now. Because during the Great Depression, when all the old whites who was here since the beginning of America and brought slaves with them lost everything during the Great Depression. But the Italians, the Jews, the Germans, the Polish, they couldn't lose nothing because they didn't have nothing. They was in the ghetto just like us. But they had a plan in place. And they slowly started making their way out of the ghetto. That's why you got Jewtown. That's why you got Chinatown. Because these are the ghetto areas that the Jews and the Italians and the Chinese used to hang out, used to be at. That was their spot. They came out the ghetto because they had a plan in place. And that plan was family. We blacks took that formula and changed it. Number one, we stopped being about family. I heard the saddest thing in my life when I heard a woman and a man say, it's not about the family you came from, it's about the family you create. The people you gather around you, that's your new family. That's a lie. You can't take over a nation like that. Because where is your legacy? Who gets your legacy? You see, the mob the Italians, the Jews, the Germans, the Polish, they took their kids again and told his son, you going into the mob because you tough enough to handle that. His other son, who's book smart, you're going to be in Congress because we need laws changed for us, like Las Vegas, liquor stores, Hollywood. All of these are well-known mob territories. They take their daughters, instead of having them be over-sexualized, they say, listen, you're going to be a lawyer. Because the son who we turn into a doctor, if we got a bullet and we don't want to go to the hospital, we can go to the son and say, look, take this bullet out of me. Because I just got into a gun battle with the other rival gang. And then I can go get my daughter, who's a top-notch attorney, who's on her way to Congress to fight my court cases. So what you're looking at when you say the pattern, what you're looking at is people who came here as immigrants run the government now. Not the old white people that came here on the boats. Those people are MAGA. The Confederate flag wavers. They clowns. Because they don't realize that you have been replaced. You have been replaced. And I hope one of you people that was marching saying Jews will not replace us, I hope you hear this. You have been replaced. You're not the sole power no more. Yes, you have a lot of power, but the Italians, the Jews, the Polish, the Germans, they run this country now. And they're white people, but they're not the original white people. They're not the original slave masters, plantation owners. The original Django, you know, when you watch Django and you see Leonardo DiCaprio, he's one of the ones that would have been marching saying Jews will not replace us. You have been replaced. They're white people, but when you look at history, the Great Depression wiped most of them out. They're poor, so they join MAGA. But what they don't realize, the head of MAGA is Donald Trump. Donald Trump has replaced you because Donald Trump is not an original. His great grandfather came here as a pimp from Germany. His great grandfather was running from a war because they was trying to draft him. So he came to America. All of this is history. You can look it up. I'm not making none of this up. If you take the time to look it up, you will see it. We are in trouble. The crazies have taken over the asylum. The mob, the mobsters, the guys that walk around with the hair slicked back, you know, the Tony Sopranos, have taken over the government. And they did it systematically. I applaud them. We've been here as slaves since the beginning, and we haven't managed to do it. Because every time we find a way that works, we change the formula and try to put our own little spin to it, and it doesn't work. That's the reason why I do my podcast on iHeartRadio. I'm not trying to worry about being a YouTuber. I'm not trying to worry about TikTok is gone. I'm not trying to worry about TikTok. I'm not trying to worry about Instagram. The reason why I promote my show on iHeartRadio is because I know for a fact talk radio works. YouTube works too, but talk radio works for sure. Mark Levin started out talk radio. Michael Savage, Art Bell, Rush Limbaugh. All of these guys, I don't like most of them. The only ones I like is Art Bell and Michael Savage. I was there at the beginning when I could hear Michael Savage on the airwaves showing you the pattern in government. I remember Michael Savage saying that our government is two different heads of the same coin. You know, you got a heads and you got a tails. And it opened my eyes. Our government basically has been taken over by immigrants who are 2 or 3 generations removed. They're not immigrants, but their great-grandfather or grandfather was. We've been here since the beginning, and we haven't managed to accomplish nothing on the Polish people, on the Italians, on the Jewish people, on the Germans. We haven't accomplished nothing like that. These people have taken over the government, and you can see it. They're all white people. Make no mistake about it. They're all white, but they're different. You can look at a white person from Alabama whose great-grandfather was a plantation owner, and then you can look at a slick-back Italian from New York, and you can see the difference. You can see it. All you gotta do is pay attention. You can see it. The people from deep Alabama, that's MAGA. But the people that's heading MAGA, that got MAGA riled up, are the Italians, the Jews. They're the ones that's running this stuff now. They replaced you. And we blacks, remember what I said. Remember what I said. These people always have a handful of blacks or 1 or 2 blacks with them, not eating at the same table, but taking scraps off the table. You know, here, y'all can have that little scraps. We'll give y'all that. But just keep the other blacks in check. You know, and keep running that football, keep playing that basketball. We took their policy. We took their ways of gang violence. But what we didn't take from them is the fact. The fact, because this is a fact, that they took their kids and was looking towards the future and said, listen, I don't care how much you like rugby. I don't care how much you like football. You're going to be a lawyer. So you can get on the basketball team all you want to. But if it affects your grades and you don't go to law school, I'm going to disown you. Because this is what I want you to do. It's a formula. They got one son who's the rambunctious one. We're going to put him on in the mob. We're going to make him a made man. They got a daughter or 2. We're going to make them lawyers. Oh, you want to be in real estate? We're going to make you a real estate agent. And the other son, who's book smart, okay, we'll turn him into a doctor. We need more doctors in the family. So the Guacamole family, I'm just playing. I'm just playing. You know, I say Giancana, but I can use any Italian name. To be honest with you, all of them follow the formula. We blacks mimic the formula up to a certain point. Up to a certain point, we mimic the formula. When it came to opening up liquor stores, we didn't follow the formula. When it came to sending your kids into places of power, we didn't follow the formula. When it comes to forcing your kid to be a doctor or lawyer, man, fuck that football. Fuck that basketball. Yeah, you want to play? Go ahead and play with your friends. But at the end of the day, you're going to be a lawyer because we need that. And then I'm going to try to send you into Congress because we need that 20, 30 years down the line. I might be dead, but I'm looking out for all of us in this family. We need that. We need you to be a lawyer. So we follow by the formula when it comes to gang activities. We follow by the formula when it comes to secret organizations and getting together. But all the rest of the formula we threw in the trash. The part about the mob boss marrying a woman and having 2 or 3 kids by her and they stay together 20, 30 years, we threw that formula in the garbage. And you will never hear about these gangsters' wives. You might hear about the mistress. She's a whore. But you would never hear about the wives, the mobsters' wives. You see, we took the formula only so far, but we never completed it. It's a pattern. And that's the reason why they've taken over the government. Now that I've gone on my rant about the patterns, because I've been thinking about it and I've been studying it for years, but I've been watching these last couple of weeks and I've been seeing the pattern. And this is the reason why you don't hear about mobs no more. Mobsters going to jail for 20, 30 years. They don't have to, because they got a formula in place. You might have an old man who's 60 years old named Giancana. He might be still alive somewhere. He might be running the mob, but you don't hear about it. And the reason why you don't hear about it is because they got that formula in place. He's the head of the family. I got 2 nephews and a son that are lawyers. I got 2 daughters and a son that are doctors. And I got them 3 knuckleheads over there. Those 2 are my nephews and those 2 are my sons. And that boy right there is my son. They in the mob. Plain and simple. Easy formula. I got the doctor on deck. I got the lawyer on deck. And I'm going to send that lawyer into Congress. Because we need some stuff going on in our community. And the white people ain't trying to give it to us. So I'm going to send my kid in there. It's a formula. It's a pattern. And that's why they have taken over the government. And for all you tiki torch guys, you white guys, the originals, the OGs of the plantation, you have been replaced. And now you got a MAGA war. Let me explain this. Let me take a sip of my coffee. Shout out to my guy, the coffee pot. I can't think of his name right now. He said drink the coffee. Drink the coffee. So you can understand the pattern. Now you got MAGA at war with each other. You got the whites, the Steve Bannons and the Donald Trumps, who are the bullies in high school with one or two of their black friends with them. And then you got the Geek Squad. Shout out to the Geek Squad. Geek Squad helped me get my computer set up. Shout out to the Geek Squad. The Geek Squad are multi-millionaires now. The Vivek Swamis and the what's the other cat name? It's on the tip of my tongue. These people are at war with each other, and this is why. I'm gonna give you another pattern, and I want y'all to sleep on this one. Think about it hard. One part of MAGA utilizes immigrants because immigrants are the nerds. They're the smartest of the bunch. They come here for that. The other side of MAGA don't want the immigrants here. Why, you ask? It's simple. They know how easy it is for immigrants 2 or 3 generations from now to take over America because they did it. They don't want the Mexicans here. Because they already done put out the formula on how immigrants can slowly, over 50, 60, 70 years, take over the government. So they don't want the Latinos here. They don't want more Africans here. You got Donald Trump talking about going to buy Finland or some part of the country up there. What is that? Them white people. It's a formula. It's a pattern. You gotta watch it. Let's get into the video. I'm done with my rant. Let's get into the video.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read, your source for news, politics, sports, and all things trending. Here's your host, Marcus Gentry.
Based on the above, the committee concludes that there was substantial evidence that Representative Gaetz violated House rules and state and federal laws and other standards of conduct prohibiting prostitution, statutory rape, illicit drug use, acceptance of impermissible gifts, the provision of special favors and privileges, and, for good measure, obstruction of commerce. Violated House rules and state and federal laws prohibiting prostitution, illicit drug use, statutory rape. House Ethics Report on Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz that was released today.
But wait, there's more.
Don't forget all the congressional Republicans who went on the record and voted to make sure that this information would be kept secret so Matt Gaetz could have a chance of becoming Attorney General of the United States without the public ever finding out all the evidence that Congress collected about, again, statutory rape, prostitution, drug use, etc.
But wait, there's more.
Now, on top of all that, as what we expect to be his last act, presumably before Christmas, we just had transition Trump run the Republican-controlled House right up to the precipice of another government shutdown, the closest we have been to a government shutdown since the last time Trump was president.
But wait, there's more.
It's time to pop the popcorn because the MAGA civil war has begun. And I'm chuckling because Elon Musk is now going after MAGA influencers and he's silencing them. He's taking away their blue check marks. He's suspending their accounts. He's demonetizing them. And they're set back going, how could this happen to us?
Welcome to the Toast Making Masterclass.
What the hell else I gonna do? But wait, there's more.
Federal judge actually banned family separations. But now that Holman is talking about possibly reviving this policy, is that even possible? What is your reaction to that sound that you just heard?
It's heartbreaking, it's cruel, it's unnecessary.
Remember what I said. They don't want the immigrants here because the immigrants that have taken over the government, make no mistake about it, they're immigrants. They're 2 or 3 generations removed. They're not like us. We came here on the boats. as slaves. And you had, of course, the slave masters. But they don't want the other immigrants here because they know how easy it is for immigrants 2 or 3 generations down the road to have powerful influence in the government. Think about the pattern.
It has no place in a civilized society, far less a democracy.
It's about allegations of sexual misconduct.
Look at this.
alcohol abuse,
Look at this guy. Look at this guy. He looks like your average, typical mob boss son. The slick back hair. He looks like an Italian. He don't look like no country bumpkin plantation owner. The guy next to him does, with the beard. He looks like a typical white guy, come from the plantation, Alabama. But the guy right here, he's a drunk bastard. Donald Trump is trying to put this guy as Secretary of Defense. He's a drunk. He's a womanizer. And he's standing up there proud with his chin stuck out. Look at him. It's finna be crazy.
Financial mismanagement in his prior jobs. Hegseth also leaning on his mother to make the case. Penelope Hegseth wrote an email to her son in 20.
Look at these guys. The guy next to him looks like a mobster. He looks like a mobster's son. The guy behind him looks like another immigrant. He looks like he's Arab descent. All of these people are immigrants. But they're not immigrants as far as them. They was born here. But these guys are immigrants. These guys are 2 or 3 generations, maybe 2, removed from coming off that boat. And they slowly, systematically took over the government. And we blacks have been here since the beginning. We ain't got no far than what these people let us. Because like I said, we take the formula and we put our own twist to it, and it never works.
The 18th, calling him an abuser of women, later apologizing, saying it was an emotional time. She says her son is a changed man.
Patient, and may make it easier for the infection to be spread from person to person. And that increases the risk of a wider outbreak of bird flu, or even potentially a pandemic. The concerns over bird flu are rising just as we are on the verge of Senate confirmation hearings for Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Let's talk about this guy. Look at him. This is a Kennedy. This guy doesn't believe in vaccinations. So why are you finna put him the head of the CDC? Are you joking? A man who doesn't believe in vaccinations? A man who wants to destroy the CDC? You want to put him in at the head of the, you know, and there's a reason behind all of this. We headed for a bad 4 years.
As Secretary of Health and Human Services, which could begin in the first or second week of January. Kennedy's anti-vaccine stances are well known and deeply troubling for someone who would run the federal agency responsible for protecting the health and well-being of all people living in the United States.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read. Your source.
I had to give you the pattern because, like I said, this is a new season, and now that the election's over with, I can dive back into politics because this is going to be a crazy, interesting 4 years, and there's a lot of people that's going to be damaged and hurt by it. And I'm going to tell you who is going to be damaged and hurt by it. This is important, so y'all need to listen up. The poor, number one, poor people is going to be hurt and damaged by it. The OGs, the originals, the original black man that came here on the slave ships, the sons, the great grandsons, they're going to be damaged by it. The OGs, the plantation owners, the MAGA, the real MAGA, are going to be destroyed by it. Already Elon Musk is censoring these people because he never cared about you in the first place. He used the OG plantation people from Alabama, Mississippi, Texas He used you to get in office. And you thinking in your mind, we're going to burn some tiki torches and say Jews will not replace us, but they have replaced you. You have been replaced. It's about to get crazy. And I'm going to tell you like this. Protect your neck. Protect your neck. And the formula is there for us. Just like the formula was there for Puffy. Hugh Hefner gave Puffy the formula. Hugh Hefner died in a bed surrounded by whores, pretty whores, surrounded by them, Playboy bunnies. A well notorious pimp died on his deathbed, not in prison. And the reason why is because he gave you the formula. Invite a couple of police officers in, put a couple of beautiful women on them, pay them off. If you got gays, don't put the gays out here in front. The Rainbow Tribe. If you got gays around, man, keep them in the cut. And as far as cocaine go, we got cocaine. We got a couple of packs of powder. But we don't deal in cocaine. We deal in women. If you want cocaine, we can get it for you. We got somebody on call to get you the cocaine. Puffy got the formula and changed it. We're going to have the Rainbow Tribe all out here. Men kissing men, women kissing women in public. We're going to have this pink substance, the pink cocaine around. Watusi. I think it's called Tusi or something like that. He changed the formula. The church. We got church from white people. Because as Martin Luther King said, we had our own culture, our own gods. And many of us have even lost our minds. Martin Luther King knew it. He said it. But when you go to his church, I bet you had people standing up, clapping, doing the jig in his church. But that's not how white people go to church. I know because I've been in there. I've seen it. The most they do is raise their hands and wave them side to side. That's the most you might see in a white church. Oh Lord. They might have a tambourine, but that's it. It ain't no skipping and hopping in there. You ain't seeing none of that. We changed the formula. We changed the formula with marriage. We changed the formula with our women. We are the least married in America. Black people. We black people used to have 3 or 4 wives in Africa. But white people gave us the formula of marriage. Only marry one woman. Okay. Cool. Now if you got a couple of mistresses, a couple of side pieces, cool. But only marry one woman. But we done changed the formula on marriage. Why? Because the court system has made it to where women are advantaged in a marriage. So you got women who are marrying wealthy men, having a couple of kids by them, and then when they say, I'm bored, was he abusive? No. Was he a good father? Yeah. Did he hit you? No. I just graduated from my marriage. I'm looking for something new. A new experience. We changed the formula. This is the Daily Read, and I'm out.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
Business.